The 1970s were a wild time for innovation, but not every invention was a stroke of genius. Some were outright dangerous. From explosive household gadgets to vehicles that defied basic safety, these creations put lives at risk in ways that seem unthinkable today. Join us as we explore 20 hazardous inventions from the 70s that were so risky they had to be banned. Trans fats. Trans fats were once the golden child of the food industry, cheap, versatile, and with a long shelf life. Fast food giants, snack manufacturers, and bakeries loaded their products with this artificial fat to make everything crispier, flakier, and more addictive. The problem? It was a silent killer. Unlike natural fats, trans fats wreaked havoc on the body, clogging arteries and skyrocketing the risk of heart disease, strokes, and diabetes. Scientists began sounding the alarm as studies linked trans fats to premature deaths, but for years the food industry kept frying, baking, and spreading the damage. Margarine, once marketed as a healthier alternative to butter, turned out to be anything but. By the time regulators stepped in, trans fats had already contributed to countless preventable heart attacks. Governments worldwide finally banned or severely restricted them, forcing food companies to find safer alternatives. Today, trans fats are a relic of reckless food science, a cautionary tale of what happens when profit takes priority over public health. The ban didn't just change labels, it saved lives. Agent Orange contamination. In the 1970s, Agent Orange wasn't just a relic of war, it was a ticking time bomb of devastation. Originally used as a defoliant during the Vietnam War, this toxic chemical didn't just wipe out jungles, it poisoned everything in its path, including humans. The real horror? Dioxin, one of the deadliest substances known to science, was lurking within. Even after the war, Agent Orange contamination continued to wreak havoc. Soldiers who handled it suffered from cancer, birth defects, and debilitating diseases. Entire communities in Vietnam and beyond were plagued by horrifying health effects, with children being born with severe deformities for generations. Meanwhile, U.S. veterans fought an uphill battle to get the government to acknowledge the damage. As the devastating effects became undeniable, bans and restrictions were finally put in place. But the damage had already been done. The long-lasting environmental destruction and human suffering turned Agent Orange into one of the darkest chapters in chemical history. What was once a wartime weapon became a global health crisis, one that demanded its immediate and absolute ban. Some inventions changed the world for the better, but Agent Orange proved that some should never have existed. Supersonic jets. The dream of supersonic passenger travel became a reality with the Concorde, a sleek, futuristic jet that could cross the Atlantic in under 4 hours. But what seemed like the future of air travel quickly turned into a logistical nightmare. These jets weren't just fast, they were deafening. The sonic booms they produced shattered windows, startled livestock, and sent noise pollution soaring over populated areas. Communities protested and governments took action banning supersonic flights over land. Beyond the noise, supersonic jets were notorious gas guzzlers, burning an excessive amount of fuel and leaving a massive environmental footprint. Their high operating costs made tickets absurdly expensive, limiting their appeal to only the ultra-wealthy. Then came safety concerns, most notably the tragic Concorde crash in 2000, which sealed the fate of commercial supersonic travel for decades. Ultimately, the combination of unbearable noise, environmental concerns, and sky-high costs led to their downfall. By 2003, Concorde was retired, and supersonic passenger flights became a relic of the past. While the idea of supersonic travel hasn't disappeared entirely, the original jets were simply too flawed to survive. The world had to hit the brakes on supersonic speed. At least for now. Cyclamate artificial sweeteners. Cyclamate artificial sweeteners promised a guilt-free way to enjoy sugary flavors until science uncovered their dark side. Marketed as a miracle sugar substitute, Cyclamate was 30 to 50 times sweeter than sugar and found in everything from diet sodas to low-calorie desserts. But the sweet dream turned into a health nightmare when studies linked cyclamate to bladder cancer in lab rats. The controversy exploded, sending shockwaves through the food industry. While some experts argued that the cancer risk didn't translate directly to humans, the mere possibility of a deadly side effect was enough to trigger an FDA ban in 1970. This once popular sweetener, used by millions, was swiftly pulled from American shelves, leaving companies scrambling for alternatives like saccharin and aspartame. Despite the ban, Cyclamate still lingers in other countries, with ongoing debates about its safety. Some nations allow it in limited quantities, while the US remains cautious. The lesson? Just because something is sugar-free doesn't mean it's risk-free. Cyclamate's downfall serves as a stark reminder that not all lab-made sweeteners are as innocent as they seem. Sometimes, the cost of sweetness is just too high. Unsafe seatbelt-less cars. Automakers once treated seatbelts like an optional luxury rather than a life-saving necessity, and the results were deadly. Throughout the 1970s, countless vehicles rolled off production lines without mandatory seatbelts, leaving drivers and passengers at the mercy of physics in a crash. Car companies resisted regulations, arguing that seatbelts were uncomfortable and unnecessary. Meanwhile, accident fatalities soared. Without restraints, passengers became human projectiles, smashing into windshields, dashboards, or even being ejected entirely. Studies showed that wearing a seatbelt dramatically increased survival rates, yet some manufacturers still refuse to install them as standard equipment. It wasn't until mounting pressure from safety advocates, grim crash statistics, and government intervention that laws finally mandated seatbelt use in all new vehicles. Even then, resistance continued. Some drivers even cut seatbelts out of their cars, convinced they were safer without them. But the numbers didn't lie. Seatbelts saved lives, and their absence was a death sentence. Eventually, regulators cracked down, and by the end of the decade, cars without seatbelts were officially off the roads. What seemed like a minor inconvenience to some was, in reality, one of the deadliest oversights in automotive history. Firestone 500 tires. Firestone 500 tires were supposed to revolutionize radial tire technology, but instead, they became a rolling disaster. Manufactured with poor bonding between the tread and the steel belt, these tires had a nasty habit of suddenly separating at high speeds, turning any highway drive into a potential death trap. Blowouts, loss of control, and catastrophic crashes plagued drivers across the country, with countless accidents linked to these defective tires. Despite mounting reports of failures, Firestone initially dismissed the concerns. However, as lawsuits piled up and investigations mounted, the truth became undeniable. These tires were dangerously flawed. In 1978, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration forced Firestone to recall over 10 million of them, the largest tire recall in U.S. history at the time. The scandal not only shattered consumer trust, but nearly destroyed Firestone as a company. It was a textbook case of corporate negligence, proving that cutting corners in safety can have deadly consequences. The Firestone 500 wasn't just a bad product, it was a mechanical time bomb, and banning it wasn't just necessary, it was a life-saving decision. Lead gasoline. Lead gasoline was once hailed as a breakthrough, boosting engine performance and reducing knocking. But beneath its seemingly harmless benefits lurked a silent killer. Every time a car burned leaded fuel, it spewed toxic lead particles into the air, poisoning everything in its path: children, adults, animals, and even the soil itself. For decades, scientists warned of the devastating effects: plummeting IQs, neurological damage, and increased aggression in children, along with a terrifying rise in heart disease and cancer. Yet big oil and car manufacturers fought to keep it on the market, dismissing the health risks. By the time regulators took action, millions had already suffered irreversible harm. Cities were drowning in lead pollution, with dangerous levels found in the bloodstreams of entire populations. The damage was so severe that even after leaded gasoline was phased out, traces of it remained in urban environments for years. Eventually, governments around the world banned it outright, making way for cleaner, safer alternatives. Lead gasoline wasn't just a bad idea, it was a public health catastrophe. Its ban was long overdue, but the scars of its toxic legacies still linger in the air, the earth, and even our bodies today. Asbestos was once hailed as a miracle material, fireproof, durable, and seemingly perfect for insulation, construction, and even household products. But behind its widespread use lurked a silent killer. Tiny asbestos fibers, when inhaled, became deadly time bombs, embedding themselves in the lungs and leading to incurable diseases like mesothelioma, asbestosis, and lung cancer. The worst part, symptoms often didn't appear for decades, meaning millions were unknowingly exposed before the dangers became undeniable. For years, industries ignored the mounting evidence, prioritizing profits over public safety. It wasn't just in buildings. Hairdryers, car brakes, and even children's toys contained asbestos, turning everyday items into hidden hazards. As workers and consumers fell ill, lawsuits skyrocketed, forcing governments to take action. By the late 1970s and beyond, bans and strict regulations had finally begun rolling out, but the damage had already been done. Today, asbestos is a grim reminder of corporate negligence and the cost of unchecked innovation. Though banned in many countries, its legacy lingers in older buildings and products, proving that what was once considered revolutionary can sometimes be the deadliest invention of all. Polyester suits, shiny, sleek, and sizzling. Polyester suits were the ultimate fashion statement of the disco era, but beneath their flashy exterior lurked a serious problem. They were practically walking fire hazards. Made from synthetic fibers that melted rather than burned, these suits turned wearers into human candles if they caught fire, causing severe burns that were nearly impossible to treat. Beyond their flammability, polyester suits also trap heat and moisture, making them unbearably hot and sweaty. The fabric didn't breathe, leaving disco dancers drenched in sweat and smelling like a synthetic nightmare. Even worse, early polyester was often treated with toxic chemicals, some of which were later linked to skin irritation and long-term health risks. The final nail in the polyester coffin: terrible durability. After a few washes, these suits would pill, fade, and lose their sleek look, turning them into itchy, shapeless messes. As fashion moved into the 80s, health concerns and fire safety regulations led to the decline of pure polyester suits, replacing them with safer, more breathable blends. While they may live on in retro-themed parties, these synthetic disasters were just too dangerous to stay in style for long. Microwave ovens. Microwave ovens promised the future, hot meals in seconds with the push of a button. But in their early days, they were more like science experiments gone wrong. The first consumer models of the 1970s were rushed to market with little regard for safety, leading to a slew of alarming hazards. Radiation leaks? Check. Electrical fires? Check. Exploding food? Absolutely. Some microwaves had faulty door seals, allowing harmful microwave radiation to seep out, exposing users to potential burns, eye damage, and other long-term health risks. Others had unreliable timers that overheated food, turning kitchen counters into fire zones. And let's not forget the materials. Before safety regulations kicked in, people unknowingly microwaved metal-laced packaging, causing mini fireworks displays in their own homes. Manufacturers were forced to rethink their designs after reports of injuries, house fires, and even lab tests showing potential DNA damage from excessive microwave exposure. New shielding, safety locks, and stricter manufacturing standards eventually tamed the beast. Today's microwaves are far safer, but those early models, they were ticking time bombs disguised as kitchen convenience. It's no wonder they had to be banned, or at least completely overhauled, before they caused even more destruction. Flammable pajamas. Few things are more terrifying than a child's pajamas doubling as kindling, yet that's exactly what happened with a notorious line of sleepwear in the 1970s. Marketed as flame-resistant, these pajamas were treated with tris, a chemical that turned out to be both highly toxic and ineffective. Instead of protecting children from fire, the pajamas actually released carcinogenic fumes when exposed to heat, creating a deadly double threat: poisoning and burns. The danger didn't stop at bedtime. Studies revealed that tris was absorbed through the skin, exposing children to a severe cancer risk just from wearing the fabric. When scientists sounded the alarm, parents were horrified to learn that their little ones had been snuggling up in a chemical nightmare. The backlash was swift. In 1977, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission banned tris-treated pajamas outright, but the damage was already done. Millions of these toxic sleepwear sets had already hit the market. It was a chilling wake-up call that led to stricter safety regulations for children's clothing, proving that sometimes the things designed to protect us can be the most dangerous of all. High-dosage BCP birth control pills revolutionized women's health, but in the 1970s, pharmaceutical companies were playing a dangerous game with high-dosage formulations. These early versions of oral contraceptives contained massive amounts of estrogen, up to 3 to 4 times the levels found in today's pills. The result? A ticking time bomb of severe side effects, from life-threatening blood clots and strokes to skyrocketing risks of heart attack. Doctors began noticing young, otherwise healthy women suffering suffering from deep vein thrombosis, pulmonary embolisms, and even fatal cardiovascular events. The alarm bells grew louder when studies confirmed what many suspected. The excessive hormone levels were wreaking havoc on the body, lawsuits piled up, activists fought back, and public outrage soared. By the late 70s, regulators had no choice but to step in. The FDA mandated lower estrogen levels, forcing drug manufacturers to reformulate their products to safer doses. This wasn't just a win for science, it was a victory for women everywhere. Today's birth control pills contain only a fraction of the original estrogen levels, making them far safer. But the reckless early days of high-dosage BCPs serve as a cautionary tale. More isn't always better, especially when it comes to hormones and human health. Halogen lamps. Halogen lamps promised brighter, longer-lasting light, but they also came with a scorching secret. They were fire hazards waiting to happen. Unlike traditional incandescent bulbs, halogen lamps burned at extremely high temperatures, reaching over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit in some cases. That intense heat turned them into ticking time bombs, especially when placed near flammable materials like curtains, paper, or furniture. The biggest danger: many models had exposed bulbs, and an accidental touch could cause instant burns. Worse, if a halogen lamp tipped over, it could ignite anything in its path within seconds. Reports of house fires linked to these lamps skyrocketed, forcing regulators to take action. Adding to the risk, halogen bulbs were incredibly fragile. A single smudge of oil from a human fingerprint could cause the glass to weaken and explode when heated. With mounting evidence of injuries, property damage, and even fatalities, safety agencies had no choice but to crack down. Stricter regulations and improved designs followed, eventually leading to bans on older high-wattage models. Today, safer alternatives like LEDs have taken over, leaving the most dangerous halogen lamps as a relic of a time when brightness came at a fiery cost. Electric blankets. Cozy, convenient, and downright dangerous, electric blankets were a household staple that turned out to be a serious fire hazard. While the idea of a warm, toasty bed on a cold night was appealing, early electric blankets from the 1970s had a dark side. Faulty wiring, poor insulation, and overheating issues made them ticking time bombs. Some would short-circuit in the middle of the night, igniting mattresses and putting sleepers in grave danger. But fire wasn't the only threat. Many models lacked automatic shut-off features, meaning they could overheat and cause burns or even start smoldering fires while people slept. Some blankets were also found to emit dangerous electromagnetic fields, sparking health concerns over prolonged exposure. Worse yet, pet owners discovered that curious cats and dogs could chew through the wiring, exposing themselves and their owners to deadly electric shocks. With reports of house fires, injuries, and even deaths piling up, regulators had no choice but to crack down. Strict safety regulations and recalls forced manufacturers to redesign electric blankets with modern safety features. But by then, the damage had been done. What was meant to bring warmth and comfort became a chilling reminder of why safety should never be an afterthought. Toxic pesticides. Toxic pesticides promised to revolutionize agriculture, but they turned out to be silent killers, poisoning everything in their path. Designed to wipe out pests with ruthless efficiency, these chemical cocktails didn't stop at insects. They seeped into the soil, tainted water supplies, and even made their way into the food people ate. The worst offenders, like DDT and chlordane, were linked to devastating health issues, from cancer to neurological disorders, while also decimating wildlife, especially birds whose eggshells thinned to the point of collapse. For years, farmers and corporations ignored the warning signs, prioritizing bigger crop yields over public safety. But when studies exposed the terrifying consequences, children born with defects, entire ecosystems unraveling, and toxins lingering in the environment for decades, governments had no choice but to take action. By the late 1970s, bans and restrictions started rolling out worldwide, forcing industries to rethink their approach. Yet the damage was already done. Some of these chemicals still haunt the environment today, trapped in soil and water, toxic reminder of humanity's reckless pursuit of progress. The pesticide crisis proved a hard lesson. When science plays with poison, nature and people always pay the price. No safety glass-shattered windshields and flying shards of razor-sharp glass. No safety glass was a disaster waiting to happen. Before modern laminated and tempered glass became the standard, many cars, buildings, and household products used plain, untreated glass that could turn into a death trap upon impact. A minor collision, a stray baseball, or even a slammed door could send jagged fragments flying like tiny daggers, causing severe injuries and even fatalities. Unlike today's safety glass, which is designed to crack without breaking into dangerous pieces, no safety glass had no such fail-safes. Car crashes often resulted in passengers being thrown through windshields or suffering deep, life-threatening lacerations. Storefront windows shattered into deadly rainstorms of glass, and even something as simple as a dropped glass tabletop could cause serious harm. As injury reports piled up, regulators knew something had to change. Laws were passed to mandate shatter-resistant glass in vehicles and buildings, ushering in an era of safer design. No safety glass was phased out, becoming a relic of a time when danger was just one impact away. Looking back, it's hard to believe something so hazardous was ever in widespread use. But for a while, it was a risk everyone unknowingly lived with. The Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab science kits are supposed to spark curiosity, not radiation poisoning. Yet, the Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab took hands-on learning to a terrifying new level. Marketed as an educational toy, this kit came with real uranium ore and allowed kids to conduct experiments with actual radioactive material. Yes, you read that right. Children were given radioactive rocks to play with. This wasn't just some harmless chemistry set. The kit included a Geiger counter because detecting radiation in your bedroom is totally normal, a cloud chamber for viewing nuclear decay, and instructions encouraging kids to handle and experiment with the uranium samples. The problem? Exposure to even low levels of radiation over time can cause serious health risks, including cell damage, cancer, and radiation sickness. As the dangers of radiation became better understood, it was clear that this toy was a ticking time bomb. Parents weren't thrilled about their kids glowing in the dark, and regulators quickly pulled it from the market. Today, it remains one of the most shockingly irresponsible toys ever sold. It's hard to imagine how this ever made it onto store shelves, but in an era before strict safety regulations, anything was possible. Red dye number 2. Bright, bold, and deadly, red dye number 2 was once the king of artificial food coloring, splashing its signature scarlet hue across everything from candies to ketchup. But beneath its eye-catching appeal lurked a sinister secret. By the mid-1970s, studies linked the dye to potential cancer risks, setting off alarm bells among scientists and consumers alike. The controversy boiled over when Soviet researchers claimed it caused tumors in lab rats, prompting the US to take a second look. The results weren't pretty. Though the evidence wasn't conclusive, public panic spread like wildfire. Parents tossed out red-tinted snacks, food companies scrambled for alternatives, and even M&M famously ditched their red candies despite using a different dye altogether. The tipping point came in 1976 when the FDA pulled the plug, officially banning red dye number 2 from all food and cosmetics. It was one of the first high-profile cases of food safety awareness, proving that not everything eye-catching is good for you. Today, synthetic dyes still spark debate, but red dye number 2 remains a cautionary tale, a vivid reminder that sometimes the most dangerous things come wrapped in the brightest packages. Go-Ped gas scooters. Go-Ped gas scooters were the thrill ride nobody asked for, but plenty regretted. These early models packed tiny, high-speed gas engines onto a flimsy frame, creating a perfect storm of danger. With no real safety features, unreliable brakes, and a top speed that could outrun common sense, these scooters quickly became a menace on sidewalks and streets. Riders zipped through traffic, often with no helmet or protective gear, turning every ride into a gamble. The biggest issue? They weren't just unsafe for the rider. Pedestrians and unsuspecting drivers were at risk too. Crashes were common, and with no regulations in place, injuries skyrocketed. Cities scrambled to ban them as hospitals filled with road rash victims and broken bones. Their gas-powered engines also spewed pollution, making them an environmental hazard on top of a physical one. Eventually, regulators had no choice but to step in. New safety laws cracked down on their use, and improved electric scooters later took their place. But for a while, Go-Ped gas scooters were the rebellious, reckless, and downright dangerous ride of the decade until they got the boot. DeLorean DMC-12. The DeLorean DMC-12 was supposed to be the car of the future, but its early prototypes were a disaster waiting to happen. Before it became a pop culture icon in Back to the Future, the DMC-12 was riddled with flaws that made it more of a death trap than a dream ride. Its signature stainless steel body looked sleek but added unnecessary weight and lacked proper rust proofing, leading to structural weaknesses. Worse yet, the gull-wing doors, meant to be futuristic, could trap passengers inside if the car flipped, turning a minor accident into a deadly situation. Performance-wise, the car was sluggish, with a weak Peugeot, Renault, Volvo engine that barely pushed 130 horsepower. Early test models suffered from overheating issues, electrical failures, and unpredictable braking, making it as unreliable as it was expensive. Quality control was so poor that some units left the factory missing key components. With safety concerns piling up, production delays, and financial scandals surrounding its creator, John DeLorean, the dream crumbled. While later versions improved slightly, the early prototypes' issues were enough to doom the car's reputation. Authorities and auto safety regulators had no choice but to crack down, forcing the DMC-12 to disappear long before Marty McFly took it for a spin. Chevrolet had high hopes for the Vega, but what was meant to be a revolutionary compact car quickly became a disaster on wheels. Marketed as affordable and fuel-efficient, the Vega instead became infamous for rusting faster than a tin can in the rain. Its aluminum engine was a ticking time bomb, prone to overheating, warping, and outright failure. Owners reported engines seizing up, coolant leaks flooding the system, and piston rings wearing out prematurely, leaving them stranded. But the nightmare didn't stop there. The Vega's poor structural integrity made it a death trap in collisions, with some models practically crumpling on impact. And let's not forget the dreaded Firestone 500 tires, which were prone to catastrophic blowouts. As lawsuits piled up and complaints flooded dealerships, it became clear that the Vega wasn't just a bad car, it was a dangerously defective one. By the late 70s, Chevrolet pulled the plug on the Vega, but the damage was done. Its reputation was beyond saving and remains one of the auto industry's biggest cautionary tales. If ever there was a car that deserved to be banned, this rust-riddled, engine-melting disaster was it. Do you remember any of these 1970s blunder inventions? Let us know in the comment section below.
Most Americans remember a time when appliance brands were as iconic as the products they created, but not all of them stood the test of time. From groundbreaking innovations to household essentials, some famous appliance brands have quietly faded into history. Today we're diving into 22 famous appliance brands that faded into history. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to Those Wonder Years and leave a comment to tell us which of these brands you'd love to see make a comeback. Let's take a look back at the brands that once defined the American home. Westinghouse.
Now that you've seen part one of Away From It All, let's turn to our Westinghouse program.
Westinghouse was once a powerhouse name in American homes, known for pioneering electricity and appliances that defined convenience in the mid-20th century. Founded by George Westinghouse in 1886, the company started with electrical equipment and quickly became a household name as it expanded into televisions, radios, and home appliances. In the 1950s, Westinghouse refrigerators and washing machines were a symbol of modern living, promising to "You can be sure if it's Westinghouse." They were among the first to introduce frost-free refrigeration, freeing families from the chore of defrosting. For many, Westinghouse represented reliability and innovation, with products that seemed to last forever. As the years passed, however, increased competition from global brands slowly diminished Westinghouse's place in the market. The company eventually licensed its name, diluting its once legendary reputation. While the Westinghouse name can still be seen today, especially in lighting and electrical products, its golden age as a beloved appliance brand has faded. The memory of its dependable mid-century appliances lives on as a nostalgic reminder of an era when appliances were built to last, and when the Westinghouse name meant quality you could count on. Philco.
The credit all belongs to Philco television scientists who have worked years to develop a radically new...
Philco was one of the most beloved appliance and electronics brands in American history, particularly for its radios and early televisions. Founded in 1892, Philco, Philadelphia Storage Battery Company, initially made batteries for electric cars, but by the 1930s, it had pivoted to radios, quickly becoming a leader in the industry. Philco radios were known for their sleek Art Deco designs and were as much a piece of furniture as they were a gadget. Families would gather around Philco radios for news, music, and entertainment, creating memories that defined the era. Philco was also a pioneer in television, producing the first commercially successful TVs in the late 1940s. However, as competition grew fierce in the 1960s, Philco's hold on the market began to wane, leading to its acquisition by Ford in 1961. The name slowly disappeared, but for many, Philco represents the charm of a time when families connected over shared moments around the radio or TV. Today, vintage Philco radios are collector's items, cherished relics of a brand that once brought the world into American living rooms. Zenith
is America's largest selling TV. At Zenith, the quality goes in before the name goes.
Zenith was a brand synonymous with quality American-made televisions and radios, a leader in innovation throughout much of the 20th century. Founded in 1918, Zenith quickly rose to fame, known for pioneering advancements like the first ever remote control, known as the Lazy Bones, in 1950. Zenith's motto, "The quality goes in before the name goes on," captured the brand's dedication to durability. Zenith TVs were often a staple in American living rooms, and families remember gathering around these sets to watch news, sports, and entertainment. In the 1980s, Zenith ventured into high-definition television technology, leading the charge into the future of TV. However, despite their dedication to quality and innovation, the brand struggled with competition for more affordable foreign models. In 1995, Zenith was acquired by LG, and while the brand name continued for a short time, its legacy slowly faded. Today, Zenith is remembered for its innovations and its place in the golden age of television, representing an era when owning a Zenith was a symbol of quality and pride in American-made products. Amana.
The 675-watt Amana radar range microwave oven has quality features, 2 timers.
Amana earned its place in history by inventing the first commercial microwave, the Radarange, in 1947. Founded in 1934, Amana started as a refrigeration company and quickly became a household name for quality appliances. The Radarange was a marvel of technology, bringing the science of quick heating into the kitchen. In the 1960s, Amana introduced a more affordable, home-friendly microwave, making it a staple in American households and transforming the way people cook. The brand continued to innovate, producing reliable refrigerators and air conditioners that won the loyalty of many families. Amana's reputation for durability meant that owning an Amana product was seen as a smart investment. However, as more competitors entered the market, Amana's distinct identity became harder to maintain. Eventually acquired by Whirlpool, Amana's name remains, but its standalone legacy has largely faded. The brand represents a time when appliances brought cutting-edge technology into the home, making life easier and marking a new era in American kitchens. Magnavox.
With Computer Color 330, new from Magnavox.
Magnavox is remembered for its innovation in audio and visual technology, most notably its early televisions and sound systems. Founded in 1917, Magnavox gained fame for producing high-quality radios and phonographs that were considered state-of-the-art. In the 1960s, Magnavox was a trailblazer in color television, offering rich visuals and sturdy construction that made them a staple in homes. The company also produced the Odyssey, the first home video game console in 1972, changing entertainment forever. By the 1980s, Magnavox televisions were highly regarded, offering features like remote controls and quality sound. However, as larger companies took over, Magnavox was bought by Philips, and its distinct identity faded. Today, the Magnavox name is used in various consumer electronics, but the brand's pioneering spirit from the past remains a fond memory for many. For those who remember, Magnavox was more than a brand. It was a source of entertainment and innovation, bringing joy to families gathered around their products. RCA, Radio Corporation of America, was once a dominant force in American households, known for its radios, televisions, and phonographs. Founded in 1919, RCA quickly became a leading player in consumer electronics, symbolizing American innovation and progress. RCA introduced the first all-electronic television in the 1930s and was instrumental in making television accessible to the masses. The brand's iconic His Master's Voice logo, a dog listening to a gramophone, became synonymous with quality entertainment products. RCA TVs were ubiquitous in American homes, with the brand continually pushing the envelope with improved picture quality and reliable construction. However, as the industry shifted, RCA's market share dwindled, and in the 1980s, the company was bought by GE and later acquired by Thomson. While RCA branded products still exist, they no longer carry the same prestige. For many, RCA is a nostalgic reminder of a time when American electronics led the world, and families gathered around RCA devices to enjoy enjoy music, news, and shows that defined a generation. Tappan.
Anyone can cook with the Tappan Sure Cook.
We love our Tappan Sure Cook microwave.
Tappan was an iconic name in American kitchens, particularly known for its stoves and pioneering work with microwaves. Founded in 1881, Tappan was among the first to bring gas ranges into homes, transforming cooking from a chore to a modern convenience. In 1955, Tappan introduced the first home microwave, making it a brand that defined innovation in the kitchen. Tappan stoves were known for their durability and practical design, with many families passing their Tappan ovens down through generations. The brand even partnered with Sears, making its products widely available. However, as competition increased, Tappan struggled to maintain its market share and was eventually acquired by Electrolux. Although Tappan appliances are no longer manufactured, the brand holds a special place in the hearts of those who grew up with Tappan ovens and stoves in their kitchens, symbolizing a time when American-made appliances were built to last and represented the height of kitchen technology. Hot Point.
New generation. Hot Point, make it in Britain. For your generation.
Hot Point was once a household name, famous for its reliable kitchen and laundry appliances. Founded in 1911, Hot Point became popular for its pioneering electric irons, then expanded into other household appliances. By the 1950s, Hot Point was producing refrigerators, washing machines, and ovens that were staples in American homes. The brand's reputation for dependability and innovation made it a favorite among homemakers. Hot Point was one of the first brands to introduce the self-cleaning oven, making kitchen cleanup easier. Many remember the Hot Point commercials and the brand's association with family life and convenience. However, as appliance giants emerged, Hot Point began to lose its standing and was eventually absorbed by GE and then Haier. Today, while Hot Point appliances can still be found, the brand no longer holds the iconic status it once did. For those who recall, Hot Point evokes a time when American-made appliances were trusted companions in daily life, built to handle the needs of a growing family. Admiral.
The new Admirals hold so much because they're designed with no wasted.
Admiral was a well-known American brand that reached its peak popularity in the 1950s, known for its TVs, radios, and refrigerators. Founded in 1934, Admiral quickly became one of the top names in consumer electronics and home appliances, popular among post-war families. Admiral televisions were particularly admired, offering quality and affordability at a time when TVs were becoming an essential household item. The brand was one of the first to mass-produce color TVs, bringing vibrant entertainment into American living rooms. Admiral also produced household refrigerators, making it a trusted name in kitchens. However, as larger electronics companies emerged, Admiral's market share began to dwindle, and by the 1970s, the brand was acquired by various companies. Although Admiral products are still manufactured in limited numbers, the brand has faded from mainstream recognition. For those who remember, Admiral is a symbol of the golden age of American home electronics, when families gathered around Admiral TVs for shared moments of entertainment and connection. Norge was a respected name in home appliances, especially known for its reliable washing machines and refrigerators. Founded in the early 20th century, Norge quickly gained popularity for producing high-quality, durable appliances that became fixtures in many American homes. Norge washing machines were particularly beloved, known for their long-lasting performance and ease of use. The brand's slogan, "Built like a ship," emphasized durability, and many families had Norge appliances that lasted decades. Norge was also known for stylish, innovative refrigerator designs that kept food fresh and offered ample storage. By the mid-century, Norge had become a household staple, but as global competition increased, the brand struggled to keep up. In the 1970s, Norge was acquired by Maytag, and eventually the name faded from use. Today, Norge appliances are fondly remembered for their rugged reliability, representing a time when American-made appliances were trusted to endure. For those who recall their Norge appliances, the brand evokes a sense of dependability and quality that feels like a piece of home itself. Kelvinator.
The store easy, see easy, reach easy. New Kelvinator for $57.
Kelvinator was a pioneering name in refrigeration, established in 1914, and quickly became synonymous with keeping things cool. Named after the scientist Lord Kelvin, who contributed to the understanding of absolute zero, Kelvinator was the first company to produce electric refrigerators for homes. Their products were known for reliability and innovation. Many families recall Kelvinator's unique design features, like rounded edges and colorful finishes that that added a touch of style to kitchens. In the 1930s and 40s, owning a Kelvinator was a mark of modernity and luxury. During the 1950s, the brand was at its peak, symbolizing quality and convenience. However, as other brands rose and consolidated, Kelvinator began to fade. Eventually, it was absorbed into Electrolux and the brand quietly disappeared. Kelvinator remains a nostalgic reminder of when refrigerators were marvels of technology, and the brand's dedication to cooling efficiency paved the way for the modern fridges we use today. Emerson Radio and Phonograph Corporation, established in 1915, was once a prominent name in American households. Known for producing affordable radios and televisions, Emerson provided families with quality entertainment during the golden age of radio and into the television boom. Emerson radios were compact and reliable, popular in the 1930s and 1940s, providing news and music to families coast to coast. The brand later became a trusted choice for TVs, with Emerson sets being a familiar sight in many living rooms. Emerson also expanded into other electronics, producing record players and eventually microwave ovens. As the market became saturated with foreign competitors, Emerson struggled to keep up and eventually licensed its brand name to other companies, diluting its presence. Although the Emerson name still appears on electronics today, it no longer carries the same prestige. For those who remember, Emerson evokes the warmth of family gatherings around the radio or TV, a reminder of simpler times when family entertainment was shared around an Emerson device. Sears Kenmore.
The Kenmore Floor Care Sale. If you could use a little extra help around the house.
Sears Kenmore was once the go-to brand for reliable, quality appliances in American homes. Introduced in 1927, Kenmore quickly earned a reputation for durability and innovation, offering everything from washing machines to vacuum cleaners. Kenmore was unique because it was a Sears exclusive, providing customers with trusted products backed by Sears' legendary service. For many families, a Kenmore appliance was a rite of passage, with their washing machines and refrigerators being passed down through generations. Kenmore appliances became known for their quality and longevity, and Sears repair service ensured that these machines could keep running for decades. However, with Sears' decline in recent years, Kenmore's prominence faded, and although the brand still exists, it is no longer a household staple. For those who remember, Kenmore represents the reliability of a bygone era, when a trip to Sears meant choosing an appliance that would become part of the family home for years to come. Maytag.
The dependability people.
Maytag is one of the most iconic names in American appliances, famous for its dependable washing machines and the beloved Maytag repairman commercials. Founded in 1893, Maytag quickly gained a reputation for producing long-lasting laundry appliances that could handle even the toughest loads. The Maytag repairman was a fictional character introduced in the 1960s, symbolizing the brand's reliability since he was the loneliest guy in town because Maytag machines rarely needed repairs. This clever advertising resonated with consumers and solidified Maytag as a household name. While the brand still exists today under Whirlpool's ownership, it no longer carries the same independent identity that made it iconic. For those who remember the old Maytag, it represents a time when appliances were truly built like a tank, embodying a commitment to quality and durability that many consumers wish still existed. Frigidaire.
In your Frigidaire cold pantry, there's a place for all your food. Fresh and frozen.
Frigidaire is one of the most legendary names in refrigeration, credited with inventing the first self-contained electric refrigerator in 1918. Originally part of General Motors, Frigidaire quickly became synonymous with cooling, with Americans even using the term Frigidaire as a generic name for refrigerators. The brand introduced many industry firsts, such as the freezer compartment and the ice maker, making it a staple in American kitchens. Known for reliability and cutting-edge features, Frigidaire refrigerators were a proud addition to many homes. The brand also produced stoves, washing machines, and air conditioners, establishing itself as a leader in home appliances. However, Frigidaire's prominence declined as competitors entered the market, and it was eventually acquired by Electrolux. While the Frigidaire name persists, it no longer holds the same pioneering status. For those who recall, Frigidaire represents the era when appliances were the latest innovations in home comfort and convenience. GEE Appliances.
GE's famous filter flow washing system cleans and re-cleans wash water.
GE Appliances was a giant in the American appliance industry, producing everything from refrigerators to washing machines that became trusted fixtures in homes. General Electric's appliance division, founded in the early 1900s, was known for quality and innovation. In the 1950s, GE introduced appliances with futuristic designs and features, including the first self-cleaning oven and the first refrigerator with both a freezer compartment and an automatic ice maker. GE Appliances were considered dependable, with the brand embodying the spirit of American ingenuity. However, in 2016, GE Appliances was sold to the Chinese company Haier, marking a shift in its American-made heritage. Today, GE Appliances continues to operate under Haier, but for many, the brand is a nostalgic reminder of a time when American homes were filled with dependable, innovative products created by one of the most respected names in manufacturing, Sunbeam.
Electric appliances made. Look for the mark of quality. Sunbeam.
Sunbeam was once a beloved brand, known for its small kitchen appliances like blenders, toasters, and mixers that became kitchen essentials. Founded in 1910, Sunbeam brought convenience to American households, introducing the Mixmaster stand mixer in the 1930s, a product that set the standard for home baking. The brand was also famous for its Toastmaster toasters and heating pads, which made daily life easier and more comfortable. For many families, Sunbeam appliances were handed down through generations, a testament to their durability. Sunbeam's reputation for affordable quality made it a household staple, but as competition grew, the brand lost some of its standing. Today, Sunbeam products are still available, but they lack the iconic status they once held. Sunbeam represents an era when small appliances were built to last, and the brand's legacy lives on in kitchens that remember the joy of mixing, toasting, and blending with Sunbeam. White Westinghouse.
My White Westinghouse? It's perfect.
White Westinghouse, built.
White Westinghouse was once a strong competitor in the appliance market, offering a wide range of products from refrigerators to air conditioners. Originally two separate brands, White, known for sewing machines, and Westinghouse, known for electrical appliances. The merger created a household name in the 1970s. White Westinghouse appliances were known for their reliability, with products that seemed to last a lifetime. Many families relied on their refrigerators, washing machines, and stoves for decades, considering them trusted members of the household. However, as the market changed and new competitors emerged, White Westinghouse struggled to maintain its foothold and eventually disappeared from the mainstream. For those who remember, White Westinghouse appliances bring back memories of dependable machines that were built to stand the test of time. Hoover.
In love.
With my new Hoover vacuum cleaner.
Hoover is one of the most iconic names in floor care, and for a time, it was synonymous with vacuum cleaners in American homes. Founded in 1908, Hoover revolutionized cleaning with the first electric suction sweeper, making it easier to keep homes clean and dust-free. Hoover vacuums were known for their power and durability, with many households keeping the same Hoover model for decades. In fact, to Hoover became a verb in the UK, reflecting the brand's impact. Hoover's machines were popular not only for their efficiency, but also for their iconic design, with the brand continually innovating with new models. Over time, however, Hoover faced increased competition and was eventually sold to various companies. While Hoover vacuums are still available, they lack the dominance they once held. For those who remember, Hoover symbolizes the pride of keeping a clean home and the satisfaction of owning a product that truly delivered on its promise of quality. Quasar.
Designed for Quasar Color TV. It's part of our continuing improvement in 100% solid-state design.
Quasar was a cutting-edge electronics brand in the 1970s and 1980s, specializing in televisions and audio equipment that brought a new level of quality to home entertainment. Originally part of Motorola, Quasar was known for its innovative design and high-performance products, especially its works-in-a-drawer televisions, which allowed for easy repairs. This unique feature made Quasar TVs popular among families who wanted quality and convenience. The brand's products were well-regarded for their clarity, color, and durability, making Quasar a trusted choice in home electronics. However, as the market became increasingly competitive, Quasar struggled to keep up and was eventually acquired by Panasonic, leading to its gradual disappearance. Today, Quasar is a nostalgic memory of a time when families gathered around their high-quality TVs for movie nights and shared moments, representing an era when electronics were made with both style and substance. Brown Stove Works. Brown Stove Works was once a staple in American kitchens, especially known for its reliable and efficient gas stoves. Founded in the early 20th century, the brand became a household name for offering dependable cooking appliances that fit the needs of a growing middle class. Brown stoves were praised for their durability and practical design, often passed down through generations. In the 1950s and 60s, a brown stove was a symbol of quality and practicality, representing an era when appliances were built to withstand years of use. However, as competition intensified and new technologies emerged, Brown Stove Works struggled to keep up with the demands of the modern consumer. Eventually, the brand faded from the market, leaving behind a legacy of sturdy appliances that were part of everyday family life. For those who remember, Brown Stove Works brings back memories of simpler times, when family dinners were cooked on appliances that felt like they'd last a lifetime. Crosley was once a beloved name in American households, known for producing a wide range of affordable and innovative appliances. Founded in the 1920s, Crosley quickly gained popularity with its accessible radios and later expanded into refrigerators, washing machines, and even automobiles. During the 1940s and 50s, Crosley refrigerators became a common sight in American kitchens, celebrated for their durability and distinctive design. Crosley was one of the first brands to offer refrigerators with unique features like shelves on the door, making them user-friendly and convenient. However, as larger appliance brands grew and the market became more competitive, Crosley struggled to keep pace. By the 1970s, the Crosley brand had largely faded from the appliance world. Today, Crosley is remembered with nostalgia as a symbol of a time when home appliances were both practical and innovative, capturing an era when even the most basic appliances had a sense of charm and character. These appliance brands may have faded into history, but their impact on our homes and memories remains. Quality, innovation, and nostalgia keep their legacy alive. Don't forget to subscribe to Those Wonder Years and let us know in the comments, which of these brands would you bring back? 20 forgotten appliances from the past you won't believe exist. These were once the cutting-edge tools of daily life, shaping how people cooked, cleaned, and lived. Imagine ice boxes keeping food fresh, coal stoves heating homes, or hand-cranked food processors simplifying the kitchen. Let's explore these fascinating inventions that defined an era before fading into history. 1. Mangle/wringer washers. Can you imagine doing laundry without a spin cycle? In the early 20th century, Mangle/wringer washers that were a revolution for households, but they were also hard work. These machines combined a basic washing mechanism with two hand-cranked rollers to wring out water from clothes, replacing the need to twist and squeeze garments by hand. Laundry day became an event. Women, as it was often their task at the time, would fill the drum with water and soap, let the clothes agitate, and then feed them piece by piece through the wringer. The rollers pressed water out of the fabric, dripping it into a basin below. While efficient for its era, it was also dangerous. Many people got their fingers or clothing caught in the unforgiving rollers. The machines themselves were bulky and often required manual effort to move. Despite their challenges, they were a significant step forward from scrubbing clothes on a washboard. Families marveled at how much easier it became to keep clothing clean, even if it still required sweat and patience. When automatic washing machines arrived in the mid-20th century, wringer washers quickly became obsolete. Still, their image is an enduring symbol of how far home appliances have come, reminding us that even progress starts with small, imperfect steps. 2. Ice boxes. Before refrigerators, keeping food fresh was a daily challenge. Enter these ice boxes, a simple yet ingenious solution that relied on a large block of ice to keep perishables cool. These appliances were a staple in homes from the late 19th century through the early 20th century, long before electric refrigeration became common. Ice boxes resembled modern fridges, but were usually made of wood with metal or tin lining for insulation. Ice delivery men, often called icemen, brought massive blocks of ice to homes, which were placed in a top compartment. Cold air circulated downward, chilling the food stored below. However, maintaining an ice box wasn't effortless. The ice block melted daily, requiring families to regularly replace it. A drip tray collected the water, and forgetting to empty it could lead to messy spills. Despite these challenges, ice boxes were considered revolutionary, making it possible to store milk, butter, and meat safely for longer periods. The arrival of electric refrigerators in the 1930s gradually replaced ice boxes, bringing an era of convenience and efficiency. Yet, the icebox stands as a testament to human ingenuity and the early pursuit of preserving food. 3. Vacuum coffee makers. Do you love your morning coffee? Now imagine brewing it with a device that looks like it belongs in a chemistry lab. Vacuum coffee makers were stylish, scientific, and all the rage in the early to mid 20th century. These appliances brewed coffee using vapor pressure and vacuum suction, delivering a clean, flavorful cup. The device had two chambers, one for water and one for coffee grounds. As the water heated in the lower chamber, vapor pressure pushed it into the upper chamber where it mixed with the coffee. Once removed from heat, a vacuum pulled the brewed coffee back down, leaving the grounds behind. It wasn't just about the coffee, it was about the experience. Watching the process felt like magic, with bubbling water, swirling liquid, and aromatic steam creating a mesmerizing ritual. For many, vacuum coffee makers symbolized elegance and modernity, often displayed proudly in the kitchen. While they made excellent coffee, they were delicate and required careful cleaning, which led to their decline as drip coffee makers and electric percolators became more popular in the 1950s. 4. Butter churns. Imagine making butter at home by hand. Before store-bought butter became the norm, households relied on the butter churns, a tool that turned cream into the golden spread we all love. This labor-intensive process was a weekly chore in many homes throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries. Butter churns came in different styles, but the principle was the same. Cream was poured into the container and agitated until the fat separated from the liquid. Hand-crank churns were popular, requiring the user to turn a handle for what felt like an eternity. Others used a plunger-style system where up and down motions worked the cream. The task wasn't just physical, it was a sensory experience. The sloshing sound of cream, the gradual thickening, and the first sight of butter forming were satisfying moments. It also brought families together, as children often helped crank the churn while learning about hard work and self-reliance. With the rise of industrial dairy production, butter churns disappeared from most homes, leaving behind a nostalgic reminder of a simpler, more self-sufficient way of life. 5. Shoe buffers. In a time when polished shoes were a mark of respectability, shoe buffers were essential household gadgets. These small, motorized machines made it easy to keep leather shoes shiny and scuff-free, bringing the professional shine of a street shoe shiner into the home. Most shoe buffers featured rotating brushes or cloth pads powered by a motor. Users simply held their shoes against the spinning buffer, and within seconds, the leather gleamed like new. Some high-end models even dispensed polish for added convenience. Shoe buffers weren't just practical, they were a symbol of attention to detail in a time when appearance mattered greatly. Well-shined shoes were seen as a reflection of one's character and professionalism, so keeping them pristine was non-negotiable. As casual footwear gained popularity in the late 20th century, the demand for shoe buffers declined. Polished leather shoes became less common, and the once prized appliance faded into obscurity, replaced by quick-fix shoe care products. 6. Toaster ovens with rollers. Imagine popping bread into a toaster oven and watching it roll through on a conveyor belt, emerging perfectly toasted on the other side. Toaster ovens with rollers were a quirky innovation in mid-20th century kitchens, combining convenience with a touch of flair. These appliances worked by placing bread or bagels onto a conveyor belt that passed through heating elements. The result? Evenly toasted slices without the need to flip or monitor. For households that prized efficiency, it was a game changer. Toaster ovens with rollers were particularly popular in diners and cafes, where speed and consistency were key. Seeing bread glide through the machine was almost as satisfying as eating the toast itself. As simpler pop-up toasters and modern ovens took over, roller toasters became a rare sight. However, their design lives on in some commercial settings, where conveyor toasters are still used for large-scale toasting. 7. Ironing stoves. Before the convenience of plug-in irons, people relied on ironing stoves to press their clothes. These stoves heated heavy, flat irons, which were then used to smooth out wrinkles. The process required patience, skill, and a bit of caution to avoid burns. An ironing stove was essentially a small heat source, often powered by coal, gas, or wood. Irons were placed directly onto the stove to heat up, then tested for the perfect temperature before being used. Multiple irons were often in rotation, so there was always a hot one ready. Ironing was an art. The user had to handle the hot iron carefully while ensuring an even press. It wasn't uncommon for people to sprinkle water on the fabric for added steam, a precursor to modern steam irons. As electric irons became widespread in the early 20th century, ironing stoves became obsolete. Still, they remain a fascinating glimpse into a time when household chores required both effort and ingenuity. 8. Coal-fired stoves. Long before electric and gas stoves, coal-fired stoves were the centerpiece of many kitchens. These heavy cast iron appliances served dual purposes, cooking meals and heating the home. They were essential, especially during cold winters when a warm stove could mean the difference between comfort and hardship. Cooking on a coal-fired stove required skill and timing. The stove's temperature wasn't controlled by a knob, but by managing the coal fire inside. Adding or removing coal, adjusting airflow, and monitoring the heat were all part of the process. Baking, boiling, and frying all required careful attention to ensure success. Coal stoves also symbolized a communal space. Families gathered around them not only for warmth, but for conversation and connection. The stove was the heart of the home, where meals were prepared and memories were made. As gas and electric stoves became the standard in the mid-20th century, coal-fired stoves gradually disappeared, leaving behind a legacy of resilience and practicality. 9. Manual ice crushers. Before the convenience of electric blenders, manual ice crushers were a staple for creating refreshing drinks and desserts. These hand-cranked devices allowed users to crush ice into smaller, more manageable pieces, perfect for cocktails, snow cones, or keeping food chilled. Using a manual ice crusher was a tactile experience. Ice cubes were loaded into the top, and the handle was turned to grind them into smaller pieces. The crushed ice collected in a container below, ready for use. Some models featured decorative designs, making them both functional and stylish additions to the kitchen. They were especially popular during the mid-20th century, when hosting parties and entertaining guests often included making homemade cocktails or desserts. Electric appliances eventually rendered manual ice crushers obsolete. However, they still evoke nostalgia for a time when preparing something as simple as crushed ice required effort and care. 10. Electric shoe dryers. Wet shoes? No problem. In the mid-20th century, the electric shoe dryers that became a practical solution for drying footwear quickly and efficiently. These small appliances used warm air to dry the interior of shoes, making them ideal for families dealing with rainy weather, snowy winters, or sports gear. The design was straightforward. A compact heating element emitted warm air which circulated through hoses or vents placed inside the shoes. In just a few hours, shoes were dry, warm, and ready to wear again. Electric shoe dryers were especially popular in areas with harsh climates, where damp shoes could be an everyday problem. They were marketed as essential for keeping feet comfortable and preventing odor or bacteria from developing in wet footwear. As modern materials and designs made shoes more water-resistant and drying methods evolved, electric shoe dryers fell out of favor. Still, their practicality is hard to forget, especially for those who experienced their warm, comforting results on a cold, wet day. 11. Waffle irons with detachable plates. Before modern non-stick electric waffle makers, waffle irons with detachable plates were a versatile tool in many kitchens. These irons were designed for use on stovetops or open flames and featured removable plates that made cleaning easier, a big innovation for the time. The detachable plates often had intricate patterns, producing beautifully textured waffles that felt as much like art as breakfast. To use, you'd pour the batter onto the hot plate, close the iron, and flip it over the heat to ensure even cooking on both sides. Some plates even doubled as grills for sandwiches or flatbreads, adding extra functionality. The charm of these irons lay in their simplicity and durability. They didn't rely on electricity, making them ideal for both home kitchens and outdoor cooking. Families would gather on weekend mornings, flipping waffles over an open flame while enjoying the warm, rich aroma. As electric waffle makers became popular in the mid-20th century, these stovetop versions faded into history. Yet their robust design and timeless functionality still appeal to vintage kitchenware enthusiasts. 12. Electric carpet sweepers. Before vacuums became mainstream, electric carpet sweepers were a revolutionary way to keep floors clean. Compact and lightweight, these machines use rotating brushes powered by a motor to pick up dirt and debris from rugs and carpets. Carpet sweepers were easy to use and didn't require much maintenance. They were quieter and more affordable than early vacuum cleaners, making them a popular choice for households in the early to mid-20th century. Some models even had detachable dust trays for quick and mess-free emptying. While they were effective for light cleaning, the rise of powerful electric vacuums in the 1950s and 60s made carpet sweepers less practical, as people began favoring machines that could deep clean carpets. These sweepers became a thing of the past. 13. Meat safes. Before refrigerators, the meat safes were essential for keeping food fresh in warm climates. These wooden or metal cabinets were lined with fine mesh or perforated tin to allow air circulation while keeping insects and pests out. Placed in shaded areas, meat safes use natural airflow to slow spoilage, making them ideal for storing meats, cheeses, and other perishables. Some safes were elevated on legs to prevent animals from getting inside, while others had decorative designs that doubled as kitchen furniture. Meat safes were a clever solution for food preservation, but their usefulness waned with the advent of electric refrigeration in the early 20th century. Today, they are cherished as rustic antiques and reminders of pre-modern ingenuity. 14. Hand-cranked food processors. Before the convenience of electric blenders and food processors, hand-cranked food processors were the go-to tool for chopping, mixing, and pureeing. These devices required physical effort, but they were versatile and reliable, making them a staple in kitchens throughout the early to mid-20th century. The design was simple, a crank-operated rotating blades or paddles inside a sturdy bowl. From chopping vegetables to grinding nuts, these processors handled a variety of tasks, often with attachments for specific uses. Hand-cranked food processors were durable and didn't rely on electricity, making them ideal for homes and even outdoor use during picnics or camping. The tactile process of turning the crank added a sense of craftsmanship to cooking. As electric appliances became affordable, hand-cranked models faded, but they remain a nostalgic symbol of a hands-on era in home cooking. 15. Rotary phones with built-in dialers. Long before smartphones, rotary phones with built-in dialers were the height of communication technology. These phones featured a circular dial with numbers, requiring users to spin the dial for each digit in a phone number, a satisfying and deliberate process. What made them unique was their sturdy construction and the mechanical precision of the dial itself. Calling someone felt intentional, as each number required effort and patience. The phones were often heavy, with a tactile quality that modern devices lack. As push-button phones and later digital technology emerged, rotary phones became obsolete by the 1980s. However, their design remains iconic, evoking a time when every phone call felt more personal and meaningful. 16. Wood-fired water heaters. Before the convenience of electric and gas water heaters, wood-fired water heaters were the primary way to heat water in many homes. These sturdy appliances required users to build and maintain a small fire beneath a metal tank to warm the water stored inside. They were a staple in rural and urban households alike, offering a practical solution to meet daily needs like bathing, washing clothes, and cleaning dishes. The process was as straightforward as it was labor-intensive. Users gathered wood, ignited the fire, and waited for the water to heat, a task that required careful monitoring to avoid overheating or running out of fuel. The heaters themselves were simple but reliable, often constructed from cast iron or steel to withstand repeated use. They also doubled as a source of warmth in colder months, making them a central feature of the home. However, wood-fired water heaters had their challenges. Lighting and stoking the fire took time, and managing the flames required experience to maintain a consistent water temperature. Safety was also a concern. Improper handling could lead to burns or even house fires. By the mid-20th century, advancements in technology made electric and gas water heaters more accessible and affordable. These new appliances offered on-demand hot water with the turn of a knob, eliminating the need for manual labor. Wood-fired water heaters gradually disappeared from most homes, but they remain a fascinating reminder of the resourcefulness and hard work that once defined everyday life. Their legacy lives on in modern camping gear and rustic settings, where the charm of a wood-heated system still appeals to those seeking a nostalgic connection to the past. 17. Radiant room heaters. Before central heating systems became common, radiant room heaters were the go-to solution for keeping homes warm during chilly winters. These yet portable devices emitted heat from glowing metal coils or ceramic plates, creating a concentrated warmth that made them ideal for small spaces. Radiant heaters were as functional as they were charming. Many were designed with stylish casings that reflected the Art Deco or mid-century aesthetics of their time. They were small enough to be moved from room to room, making them a versatile option for households that didn't have the means to heat the entire house. Using a radiant room heater was simple. Plug it in, switch it on, and feel the warmth almost immediately. Families would gather around them to read, play games, or relax, using the heater as a focal point for cozy evenings. However, the exposed heating elements posed risks. Fire hazards were a genuine concern, especially if the heaters were left unattended or placed too close to flammable materials. By the mid-20th century, advances in central heating and safer, more efficient heating technologies made radiant room heaters less popular. Despite their decline, they hold a nostalgic place in history, reminding us of a time when warmth came from glowing coils and close-knit gatherings. Today, vintage radiant heaters are often repurposed as decorative items or cherished by collectors who appreciate their retro design and the history they represent. 18 percolators. The bubbling sound of a percolator was once synonymous with mornings in many households. These classic coffee makers used a simple yet ingenious design to brew a rich, aromatic cup of coffee. Before drip coffee makers and single-serve machines took over, percolators were the standard for coffee lovers everywhere. A percolator worked by cycling boiling water through coffee grounds repeatedly. The water would rise through a tube, spread over the grounds, and drip back into the pot, intensifying the flavor with each pass. This process continued until the coffee reached the desired strength. A small glass knob on top allowed users to see the brewing in action, adding an interactive element to the ritual. While the percolator's bold flavor was a selling point, brewing required careful attention. Too much percolation could lead to an overly bitter taste, making the process as much an art as a science. Cleaning the multiple components also required effort, but for many the result was worth it. Percolators began to lose popularity in the 1970s as drip coffee makers offered a more convenient alternative. However, they still have a devoted following among coffee enthusiasts who appreciate their strong brew and nostalgic charm. Modern versions of percolators exist, but the original stovetop models remain a symbol of mid-century kitchen life. Their distinctive sound and rich aroma evoke a time when coffee making was a deliberate and rewarding process. 19 hair dryers with hoods. Before the handheld hair dryers we know today, hair dryers with hoods were the height of at-home styling sophistication. These devices consisted of a large dome-shaped hood connected to a hose and a base, which emitted warm air to dry hair evenly and efficiently. Hooded hair dryers were a staple in the 1950s and 60s, when elaborate hairstyles like bouffants and curls required extended drying times. Using one felt luxurious. Users could sit comfortably while their hair dried, leaving their hands free for reading, knitting, or sipping coffee. This convenience made hooded dryers particularly popular among women who wanted salon-quality results at home. Operating the dryer was simple. You placed the hood over your head, adjusted the settings, and let the warm air work its magic. The process was slow compared to modern standards, but it provided consistent, even heat that was ideal for setting styles with rollers or curlers. As handheld hair dryers became more affordable and practical in the 1970s, hooded models fell out of favor. However, they are still cherished by vintage beauty enthusiasts and professionals who appreciate their effectiveness for certain hairstyles. 20. Vacuum tube radios. In the early 20th century, vacuum tube radios revolutionized entertainment and communication. These large wooden devices brought news, music, and dramatic programs directly into living rooms, becoming a central part of family life. The vacuum tubes inside the radios amplified sound, creating rich, warm audio that many enthusiasts still consider unmatched by modern technology. The soft glow of the tubes added an almost magical quality as families gathered around the radio to listen to Roosevelt's fireside chats, thrilling dramas, or live concerts. These radios weren't just functional, they were also beautiful. Crafted from wood with intricate designs, they were often seen as furniture pieces that added elegance to a room. Owning a vacuum tube radio was a sign of modernity and a connection to the wider world. By the 1950s and 60s, transistor technology made radios smaller, cheaper, and more portable, pushing vacuum tube models into obsolescence. Today, they are highly sought after by collectors, who prize them for their craftsmanship, sound quality, and nostalgic value.